So now I'm going to demonstrate an ear cytology. This dog came in with, he's been shaking his head, scratching at his ears, whining when he scratches at his ears. His ears are really red and irritated. So we recommended an ear cytology to look for infection or bacteria. So you want to swab each ear with a cotton tip applicator. You want to go in enough that that you don't hurt the animal, but that so you can get some swabs. I know, buddy, I know. It's okay. It's okay. Good boy. I know, good boy. So that's my right side. Come here. I know, come here. I know, come here. You want some cells, but you don't want to go so deep that you may hurt the baby. And that's the left side. So I'm going to bend my Q-tip there so it's, I know that's my left and that's my right. So now we want to prepare our ear cytology slide. You want to gently roll your sample out onto the slide. And then you want to heat fix your slide from underneath because any waxy material could wash off. If the cells can wash off, any waxy material can wash off when you go to put them in your stains. So you want to make sure you heat fix it from underneath for just a few seconds to make sure that you don't lose any important cells when you go to look at it under the microscope. So now we're going to stain this slide, and you want to do each stain for about 15 to 30 seconds. Making sure that you use the ear and fecal cytology stains, not your blood cytology stains. You don't want to contaminate your blood cytology stains. And then we're going to rinse this slide and come back and evaluate it under the microscope. So now that our slide is stained and dry, we're going to go ahead and look at it under the microscope. You want to start with your 10. Objective and get that good and focused. And then you're going to move to your 40. Get that focused. And once that's focused, you're going to use your immersion oil and go to your 100 objective or your high. And you want to make sure you don't roll your 40 through your oil. And then you're going to focus that and scan the entire section, seeing quite a bit of debris. Some skin cells here and there. This dog definitely has cocci as well as chains of cocci, as well as yeast and budding yeast. So that would be causing the irritation in the ears. So now I'm going to demonstrate a skin scraping. These dogs come in usually with lots of hair loss and itching. There could be redness as well as blotches or lesions on the skin. But they're usually intensely itchy with lots of hair loss. So we're going to need a 10 blade. and a drop of oil on our 10 blade. Mineral oil. And we're going to pick an area where there's a lesion, and we're going to hold the blade perpendicular to the skin, and we're going to scrape back and forth until we get some capillary blood. Easy, buddy. And then once we see that capillary blood come up, we're going to go ahead and put the oil on the slide, and then mix our cells and hairs that we got into the oil. Now we're going to put that on a cover slip over that, and then we're going to look at this under the microscope to see what we can see. So I've got my skin scraping slide here. I'm going to put a cover slip over the top of it. And now we're going to look at this under the microscope. We're going to start on 10, our 10 objective. Focus that in. And then we're going to move up to 40. We're going to scan the whole slide to see what we can see. I'm seeing yeast on the skin. As well as Demodex. I'm seeing quite a few Demodex mites here on this dog. So I just performed a deep skin scraping. I wanted to get that capillary blood just to make sure we weren't looking for any mites that may be indwelling in the hair follicles or in tunnels. The other type of skin scraping would be just a surface skin scraping, where you would just take the hairs and crusts off the lesion and put those straight into your oil and look for those. That would be more of a surface scraping. So I'm now going to perform and demonstrate how to perform a cross match, major and minor. We need a recipient and a donor. So Willie is our donor, Toby is our recipient, and I have a lavender top as well as a serum separator for Toby and a lavender top and a serum separator for Willie. We're going to centrifuge these down, and then I'll come back. So now that I've centrifuged both of my samples, I want to pour off my serum and save that. Okay. So next we have our samples that have been, this plasma has been separated out. You want to pipette off the plasma so that you leave just the packed red blood cells. And then we're going to take 2 drops of the packed red blood cells. Place it in a non-additive test tube. And then we're going to fill that test tube with saline, a syringe of saline. Place that back in the centrifuge, and we're going to do the same thing for the donor dog. We're going to pipette off the plasma. to add 2 drops of the packed red blood cells to a non-additive tube. Fill the syringe with saline. Sorry, the tube with saline. And then we're going to centrifuge these down for about a minute. So we went ahead and washed the cells. Now you want to pull the Supernatant saline off the top. And then you want to fill these tubes. After you've removed the Supernatant saline off the top, you want to fill these tubes again with saline and centrifuge them again, if at least 2, if not 3 more times. And that will have completed your washing of the cells. So for our major cross match, we are going to add 2 drops of the recipient serum to 2 drops of the final wash from the donor. Then for our minor cross match, we're going to add 2 drops of the recipient final wash to 2 drops of the donor serum. We're also going to make 2 controls for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 drops of the recipient wash to 2 drops of the recipient serum. Do the same thing with our donor. Make another control by adding 2 drops of the serum from the donor. To 2 drops of the wash. Now we have our major, our minor, and our 2 controls. So we have our major, our minor, and our recipient controls. We're going to let these incubate for 30 minutes, and then we're going to centrifuge them for 5 minutes. Okay, so I've incubated my samples as well as centrifuged them for 5 minutes. So now we need to examine them for any reactions. And I don't see any agglutination or reactions macroscopically. but we are going to examine them under the microscope just to be sure. So you need 1 drop of your major cross-match onto a microscope slide, and 1 drop of your minor cross-match onto a microscope slide. And then you want to look at these under the microscope to check for any agglutination. So this is my major. And I do not see any agglutination. The cells appear to be moving around freely from each other. This is my major cross-match that I'm reviewing. So microscopically, my major cross-match looks good. Need to examine the minor cross-match just to be sure. Again, I don't see any agglutination or clumping of cells. So it appears as though Willie is an appropriate donor for Toby.